Jerome of Sandy Cove. Although the versions of his discovery differ, the general story goes that in September of 1863, in Nova Scotia, Canada, an 8-year-old boy walking on the beach of Sandy Cove met a man who was suffering from cold and exposure. He also didn't have any legs. When the boy's family took the legless man into their home in the village of Digby Neck, they learned that he didn't speak English. The townspeople named him Jerome after he murmured something that sounded like that name when they asked who he was. Not only did he not speak English, he didn't speak in words. As people would stop by their house to check out the new stranger, he would growl at them like a dog. When Jerome was examined, the plot thickened. It seemed like his amputations were fresh, so much so that they still had the dressings on them and hadn't yet healed. As well, it seemed that a skilled surgeon had removed the man's legs and that it wasn't an accident. After a while, the people thought that Jerome might be Catholic, and he was shipped off to the nearby Acadian community of Medigan, and he was taken in by a Corsican-Canadian polyglot, John Nicola. In addition, Jerome either didn't speak to them or didn't want to. Nicola kept his new guest in his house anyways and cared for him for another 7 years, along with his wife Juliette and stepdaughter Madeline, for whom Jerome became a favorite of. It was during this time in Medigan that the government was notified of the unidentified double amputee and granted a $2 weekly stipend for his care. Despite living with a linguist, Jerome never learned to speak any language and could only grunt and growl. After Juliette died, Jerome was sent to live with the Como family in the nearby town of St. Alphonse, and Jerome stayed here for the rest of his life, allowing the Commounds to collect admission from onlookers to view him. Jerome died in 1912, almost 50 years after he was found on the beach, and no one ever figured out who he was. So a new source of information on Jerome brings to light that the fact that it was chronicled that in the year 1879, one Samuel Gidney of Mink Cove happened to be on a boat that harbored at Little River, Maine. In the evening, 2 men at that place came aboard the boat. They asked where the visiting schooner bound for Boston hailed from. Being informed that it came from Sandy Cove in Nova Scotia, one of the visiting pair asked if any aboard knew of a legless man being found on the Sandy Cove shore. On being told that he was still in Nova Scotia, one of them replied that he was the one who had left the cripple on the shore. According to this story, he had brought Jerome from New Brunswick. Parties there had hired him to take the legless pauper away to save town charges. Later, in writing to Judge Savory on the matter, Mr. Gidney said the skipper, who had been instrumental in placing Jerome on the shore, had given him his name, but Gidney had forgotten it. From this man, who for $10 agreed to get rid the authorities of the public charge, poor Jerome had lost his legs, was revealed. From another source, it is learned that during this time that Jerome was in the Chipman district in New Brunswick, that one of the few words he would utter was made up of the letters G-A-M-B-Y. It was by the name of Gamby that he was referred to while there. Just what district authorities decided to have him shipped from the province of New Brunswick has not been revealed in the documents that apparently reveal, quote, Jerome's true story. Neither is it known whether they specified that the legless Italian was to be brought to Nova Scotia or just left it to the discretion of the fishing master at the time of what was to be done. In any event, Jerome was fortunate in finding Nova Scotia that was a hospitable land that was ready to provide for the care of someone in his condition. and for many years, he lived on the shore of St. Mary's Bay, there to end his days and to give rise to many strange stories that have been woven about him. This has been your host, Luke. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe for more. I hope you have a good night.